Was the president's performance enough to quell the anxiety of the other members of your party?
Well, we're certainly going to find out. As you said a moment ago, the Congress and the Senate are returning to the Capitol, and the result will be an opportunity for them to take a look at the history of this president over the previous 3.5 years, the work that's been done, the wisdom that he brings to the office that's not available to anybody else because they've not had the 50-plus years of experience, the work that he's done holding NATO together, and NATO will be in Washington in the coming days. And so we're going to have to take a look at that. My perspective on this is that the president is doing exactly what he needs to do, and that is to govern, to be president. Campaigning, yes, he's got to do that. Debates, well, he did a very poor job in the debate, no doubt about it. But being president, actually in the office, is not about debating. It's about the wisdom of the experience, understanding international relationships with international leaders around the world. All of that, this president has. And I'm quite confident he'll be able to do it for the next 4 years.
Okay, the number of your fellow House Democrats calling for President Biden to step aside continues to grow. We see here these 5, including Mike Quigley, who is a pretty significant, that's a pretty significant move for somebody who has been in House leadership. I understand you want the party to stay the course, but is there a problem that now that these things have been said out loud, that people are giving air to these concerns, can you really put the toothpaste back in the tube?
Well, certainly people have been able to see the president over the last 2 or 3 weeks, both in the debate and his interview with Stephanopoulos. Frankly, that interview was okay. The president is soft-spoken. He answered the questions. Just take a look at the difference here. This is not just about Biden. This is also about Trump. Go back to that debate. Unfortunately for Biden, all of the focus has been on his performance, not on Trump's performance. Trump did not answer a single question. He deflected, and usually by simply attacking without answering the question, no policy statement. And in the course of that debate, he lost his train of thought, as did Biden. Both of them lost their train of thought. And if you were to go back and take a look at the performances that Trump has made on the campaign trail, you'll find that he changes his thought right in the middle of a sentence, does not finish a thought, and goes back to his attack mode. The result of all that is that there is a very serious question as to the competency, the ability of Trump to perform beyond being a serial liar.
And then, but that's what isn't that what makes Democrats so frustrated, though, is that Donald Trump should be much easier, they feel like, to beat for the Democratic nominee. It shouldn't be this hard, that Joe Biden shouldn't be trailing against him. And I read into the action by, or reported action by Senator Mark Warner to try to put together a group of his colleagues to try to sort of lower the boom on President Biden. And a similar effort is happening in the House. I want you to listen to Congressman Wiley Nickel speaking to my colleague Blake Berman earlier this week.
There will be more within the next week, within the next few days. And until he can go and put those concerns to bed, you're going to hear more of this noise. You're going to hear more of this, of this distraction from what a disaster Donald Trump would be.
Okay, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is holding a meeting today where I'm sure this is going to come up. He's backing Biden, but this, as Congressman Nickel points out, the number of people signing on to a letter similar to the effort that we hear about in the Senate is going to grow. Should Leader Jeffries be taking a harder line with dissent here? Is there something that he should be, that you want to see him doing to support the president?
Well, you put up 5 photos a moment ago. That's 5 out of 212 members of the Democratic caucus. Will there be others joining? That's possible. Will that have an effect? I doubt it.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.